Welcome to another episode of Mortal Medicine. I'm your host, Kerem Bölek. Today we will be talking about depression and psilocybin. Before we start the video, don't forget to subscribe and click the like. Now, depression is a disease which is quite strange because you can't really point your finger and say, this person is depressed because of this disease here right in the brain. Depression is a problem which is prevalent in almost all Western countries. And actually it's just a human problem because humans are always inclined to feel sad in some way. Because in reality there is always this apex predator who's out to get you. In America, 4.7% of the whole population has reported depressive symptoms lasting longer than a few weeks. That means that 14 million people, which is 4 million people less than Greece, are depressed in the US. The first line treatment for this disease, most of the time, is antidepressants. These antidepressants, they are called SSRIs, selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Now, for people who don't know what these do, is they make sure that when your brain neurons release serotonin, that it does not get reuptaken back into the first neuron. So you get more serotonin floating around in your brain. Let's say you have very high serotonin, then your stress levels will go down. Vice versa, if you have very low serotonin, your whole view of the world will turn into monsters everywhere and red eyes looking at you, which is what we call anxiety. So serotonin could be seen as like a protective layer against the cold reality of being vulnerable. Now, for example, if people take MDMA, which causes all of your serotonin to be released in one go, we can see that people tend to stand up straight, they're very happy, they're less prone to negative emotion, and they like to dance a lot. High status people, they have the same type of behaviors. That's why when we see someone who is stretching out or is like really making himself big, we kind of unconsciously associate that with someone who is high status. Now, depression is the opposite of that, and that's why people figured that, hey, people have low serotonin in their brain, they get depressed, so we must increase their serotonin, which mechanistically makes sense. And what they did was create SSRIs, which make sure that you have more serotonin in your brain. And in America, 13% of the population has taken antidepressant in the last 30 days. That means that the whole population of Ukraine, 40 million people. Now, antidepressants are the primary treatment. They do not always work. They do get less depressed, meaning that they don't feel any depressive symptoms. They are still present, they can still function, but there's still this background noise of being depressed. That's what we call symptomatic treatment, and it actually works for some people. But for most people, it actually just puts like a mental plaster on an open wound, and this wound actually needs suturing, which is why most of the time it does not work. Now, if you're very, very, very depressed, you barely have any serotonin getting released, the changes of the SSRI will be very small. People who are depressed, they kind of get stuck in a habit of thinking. This creates isolation, and this causes someone to not really be present and just causes them to neglect themselves. This gloomy thought pattern that depressive people have is also prevalent in healthy people. What we need to remember about mental diseases is that they're just human traits amplified. Now let's talk about psychedelics. Psychedelics cause an almost opposite effect of what depression causes. Depression causes you to go inside and really close yourself off from the rest of the world, away, isolated, not present. And what psychedelics do is they open your view of what things are. They make you hallucinate, they make you plugged into life, they give you like a new perspective on your situation. What you see is that people, they enter a dreamlike state while they're awake, and things look very uncanny, they look unnatural, and they look nothing like what we would call reality, although it feels very, very much real. Now, some people report to have mystical experiences, what you would call seeing God or whatever, or seeing some deity, and these things are real in the sense that we can see them, but we can't really test it. These substances have been used for centuries in shamanic rituals, where a shaman would give a young warrior this substance, this DMT, ayahuasca it's called, and then they would be transformed like a phoenix into a man and become a better person. It's like almost like a purging of the soul, making the soul more pure. That's how they describe it. DMT has also a very, very long history in biblical texts, for example. There's this one tablet where Moses is seen next to a plant which is very, very rich in DMT, and the plant is burning. You know, it's quite an experience, because it's not innocent in a way. It's a substance that demands and commands a lot of respect. What are the clinical applications then? If people have built religions on top of this, on top of some of these substances, or they have been using them for years and years, there must be some benefit to it. For people who are depressed, they feel so devoid of meaning, isolated, that an experience that gives almost the opposite, seeing something that is a deity or higher than thyself, color in all the empty spaces in your life, that could be a therapeutic effect. I myself have some experience with psilocybin, and I know it's safe and it's barely harmful to someone, especially if it's in a safe, controlled environment. And some people just end up depressed because they don't feel like their life is going anywhere, and a fresh look on their situation could perhaps provide the catalyst they need, giving them a new perspective, a new road that they can walk on that feels far more meaningful than what they've been doing for the last how many years. Now, in the next video we will talk about the comparison between SSRIs and psilocybin, so tune in for that one. Don't forget to subscribe, click the bell as well, and thank you for your time.